over-exaggeration of human emotions is a common theme we see play out in shows across the world, whether it's comedy, romance, action, drama. Now, sometimes it's just hard to portray human emotions while acting authentically, so it comes off as over-exaggerated. And the way comedy does it, they're able to get away with it because acting over the top makes it extra funny sometimes. We see in live action shows like Always Sunny in Philadelphia an over-exaggerated way of being ridiculous because they're just playing caricatures of the people they're playing. Comedy live action shows are able to do this with the least amount of friction. But if not done right in a live action show, if you go over the top with over-exaggerated emotions or even movement, it can just be kind of cringe, to put simply. When real people aren't acting like real people, it's just off-putting, fake, uncanny. The thing that makes television shows or movies good is the portrayal of the character, so the viewer is able to suspend reality and get sucked into the TV show or movie. For example, let's look at the TV show The Flash. Now, in my opinion, this show is garbage. And a big reason it's a bad show is because it's hard to get good actors to play TV roles. Most of the great actors are playing in movies because TV shows are beneath them. So since the actors aren't acting like real people because they're not the best actors, but clearly acting like characters, reading lines, trying their best way to portray the role that they were given, it's just kind of laughable at times, in my opinion. A serious show can turn into a comedy rather fast just because of bad acting. Think of all serious live action shows you've seen and think back on the acting. Well, if you know anything about acting or have any taste, you'd say the acting is usually bad. This is why shows like Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad were so popular. It's not just the great set work of the shows, the great writing, the great directing, it's how believable the actor is. If the actor isn't believable, then the viewer doesn't suspend disbelief. They think, oh, it's just a TV show. People playing characters rather than being drawn into the show. This is why live action shows an over-exaggerated comedy character is still entertaining to the show because it's for comical purposes. Look at this scene in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I'm sure the people who haven't seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia at least have seen this meme template before. It's because it's the perfect caricature of a crazy conspiracy theorist. It's acted out perfectly and shown in the scene perfectly. Charlie plays the crazy conspiracy theorist part really well. It's the fact that his over-exaggerated facial expressions actually look authentic. And of course over-exaggerated, but like I said, it's for comedic purposes. It's supposed to make fun of conspiracy theorists in a way. Even though live action comedies can get away with things better than dramas or action movies, it's still live action. A real human can only be so over-exaggerated and in the right situations until it becomes uncanny or cringe. When it comes to anime, it has a lot more leeway than live action shows. Of course, American cartoons as well, cartoons, animation in general, but, this is an anime channel, I don't care about fucking American cartoons. Now, we've all seen some anime here, and what's the biggest difference between anime and live action shows? Obviously, kind of a silly question, there's a lot. One is real people, or one are real people, and one are 2D drawings. But, something else. And it's the same reason why I can connect with anime characters better than real people portraying characters, unless the acting is superb, which is extremely rare. And the reason, or the difference rather, is because of the over-exaggerated emotions that anime characters can display on occasion. Or if it's a comedy slice of life anime, then maybe display a little too much in my opinion. Now, I want to be clear, yes, anime can be very, very cringe, just the same as live action. But they can get away with more of acting weird and unconventional than real people because they're not real people. Yes, when you see stick figures, you recognize them as drawn out people. So with realistic art style, that some animes have, it's obvious that you look at them as humans. But they're not actually humans, they're the portrayal of humans through art. This is the reason anime can get away with acting so unconventional. And the character is not acting like real humans. It's because they're not. So, when a character is wearing a mask of an emotion and over-exaggerates the emotion, it hits 100 times harder and draws you into the episode rather than pulls you out like bad live action shows with bad acting. Let's look at one of the most famous examples of this at the Marineford arc in One Piece, where Ace meets his demise for the price of protecting Luffy from Akainu's fist. Arigato! Just look at the face Luffy is making. No one in real life can copy that face, and that's because it's not meant to be copied. It's supposed to be art. Oda, the creator of One Piece, drew it this way to manifest the emotion of hopelessness, and that's exactly what the viewer felt while watching this. If someone actually tried to copy this scene in real life, it would just look silly. It wouldn't look real. It would look completely uncanny to the point where it's like, what is that guy doing? What? This is one of the most popular scenes in anime history. And I've seen it way too many people on the internet talk about how badly the scene made them cry. Not because the facial expressions are realistic, but it's the artist's portrayal of hopelessness that we feel. That's why, even though it's an over-exaggerated face, it works because it's a drawing, it's art. Now, if you've seen my last video about Demon Slayer, the best anime of all time, you may be a bit confused that I'm talking about how anime is able to over-exaggerate emotions and how it's even useful to do so to express the emotion properly. Well, the big difference is that yellow hair guy just runs around and shrieks while being a coward, and in FMAB, they just overreact to every little thing. Of course, we can look at other examples on why that's annoying, but let's look at how it can be done correctly in a comedic sense. To look at a comedic example, let's look at One Piece yet again. This time, Sanji. Just look at this face. Do I need to explain any more? This is maybe the most ridiculous thing I've seen in One Piece, and there's a lot of ridiculous scenes. But Sanji, after only being on an island with CDs, who he is not attracted to, finally starts to see real girls after the 2-year time skip and is freaking out over it. Not only that, but when he goes to Fishman Island with the rest of the Straw Hats, he gets super turned on by fish people. Yeah, for some reason. I mean, how do you even... I don't care. Anyways, that's one of Sanji's fetishes for some reason or another. And so when he keeps seeing mermaids after mermaid, he literally almost dies of blood loss from having too many nosebleeds because they can't show people popping bees in anime. Yes, a nosebleed. As ridiculous as it is in this show, it's still pretty funny. Now, if this was done in a live action show, it would definitely be a bit odd and it wouldn't make sense. But since everyone knows about nosebleeds in anime, it makes sense. And let me explain this last part just to nail in the coffin. The reason this scene in specific is better than Yellow Hair Guy, even though you could argue it's even more over-exaggerated, considering people don't actually bleed from their nose when they're turned on, but the reason it works is because it plays into how Sanji was training with only CDs for 2 whole years. And while already being a complete perv, he is now surrounded by his fetishes. So yes, it's over the top, but it plays into Sanji's character. And not only that, but actually sets up the whole explaining why blood transfusions are banned on Fishman Island. I believe. I haven't seen that in a long time, but I think so. Now, I know some of you guys are total weebs, and so am I. But there's one thing we must admit, and that is anime is kind of cringe sometimes. Yes, we all know this to be true. But so is live action, so don't cry. It's just anime. It's just anime is sometimes, well, if you've seen Dragon Maid, then I don't need to explain myself any further. But the reason for this is only because it's meant for manga. Yes, a 2D drawing portraying characters, and once those characters start to move and have voices, then they come one step closer to humans. And with that one step closer, they become one more step cringe. To use One Piece as an example again, and I'm only using it as an example because I think One Piece does an amazing job at using over-exaggerated emotions. So good, in fact, that it's the #1 selling manga of all time. And to think the sad and emotion scenes aren't part of that, and it's just devil fruits and epic fights, then you're just wrong. There's so many scenes in One Piece while I'm reading the manga where I just think that stuff is so damn funny, sad, or whatever. And then when I see it in the anime, it's like, oh, yeah, I guess Frankie saying "Super" is kind of cringe. But in the manga, it's kind of lit. It's fun. God, I'm embarrassed saying that. Because when he actually says it out loud, I want to cover my ears and cringe and embarrassment. Especially if I'm watching it with someone. This is the reason why live action movies based on animes don't have the human actors act very much like anime characters, or else nobody would be able to watch it, especially with a group of people. Not that us weebs really have that many friends in the first place, but still. It would be too abnormal to really get sucked in and believe the story that is unfolding before the viewer. Because humans don't act like that. It just comes off as cringe. Well, anyways, I guess I got my point across fairly well. I suppose I'll leave this video here. And if you're still not sold on my point, just imagine real people. Literally, imagine someone you know, or just imagine people at a gas station acting like Kobayashi Dragon Maid characters. Exactly. They'd be in prison for being creeps. And JoJo posing? Well, no matter how cool that is, they'd just be normal people at a pride parade in real life. Anyways, I think I got my point across. See you guys later. I'm Maddie500. Bye.